Խնդրենք, որ Ժակլին մորաքույրը ձեր համար կարդա այդ պատմությունը անգլերեն։
Okay, so I'm going to be reading this book, The Polar Express. Okay? Okay, let me show you the picture first. This is the first page. Okay. Can everyone see? Everyone see? So, on Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew that he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window. See, that's what he's doing. He's looking through his window. Okay. And saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. And this is the train. This is the train that he sees, looking through the window. Okay? It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window, and I tiptoed downstairs in my slippers and robe and went out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out, and I ran up to him. "Well, are you coming?" "Where?" "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." And I took his outstretched hand, and he pulled me up onto the train. I'll show you the next page. So this is what it looks like inside the train. Does it look nice? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, it looks nice. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols, Christmas songs, and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot chocolate as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. And this is what he sees from outside the window. Do you know what those are in English? Wolves. Excellent. Soon, there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. Here's another picture of what he sees from his window. Mountains. We climbed mountains so high, it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster, we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. Now, this is the next page. What do you see here? Like a bridge. Like a bridge. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Then lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a foreign sea. That, said the conductor, is the North Pole. And this is what the North Pole looks like. Did you see? Did you have time to see? The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the very top of the world. filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. They are gathering in the center of the city, the conductor told us. That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas. But who receives the first gift? We all asked. The conductor said, he will choose one of you. And so this is the next page. And I don't know if you can see it, but all the elves are gathered. You see little, so you can see people there. All of the elves are gathered there. See? All these are people, elves, Alfera. All of the elves. Look, shouted one of the children, the elves. Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train grew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl because the streets were crowded with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. And here, what do you see?
Santa Claus. Santa Claus.
Santa Claus and elves. You're right, Santa Claus and elves. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh, Sahanak, right? Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and they paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. Yay! He marched over to us and pointing to me, he pointed, let's have this fellow here. And he jumped into his sleigh and the conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, now, what would you like for Christmas? This is the next page with Santa and the reindeer and the boy. I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the one thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell, a little silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled, and then he gave me a big hug, and he told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa, and he stood up, holding the bell high above him, and he called out, the first gift of Christmas. And so what's happening next?
Santa Claus and deer.
Yes, Santa Claus and the reindeer are flying away. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me and I put it inside my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked the whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and then disappeared into the cold, dark polar sky. Now we're back in the train. We're back in the train. All the children are together. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see my bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. See, like this. The only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. Let's hurry outside and look for it, one of the children said. But it was too late. The train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. In the next picture, he's back home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. And the conductor said something from the train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted, and the Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. The next picture is what day?
Christmas.
Christmas Day. Christmas morning. On Christmas morning, my little sister, Sarah, and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. And it had my name on it. I opened it, and inside was the silver bell. And there was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Santa Claus." I shook the bell, and it made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. They thought it was broken. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even my sister Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. But though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe.